I know what my audience like. I did some independent films with Master P, and a lot of those movies did really well.
I'm ambitious, I'm a hustler. I have my own lane.
That's the thing about comedy. You wake up every day, you don't know if you're funny that day.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program. You are now listening and watching Let's Go Live with Lamont King. I am Lamont King, and we are now officially live. Let's go. Good. Broadcasting live from the newly remodeled Drunken Fruit Studios inside the Tiny Closet Command Center.
I don't care if it is a closet. You still looking mad official.
Something like a podcast where we do, if this is your first time viewing something like a podcast, we do hilarious commentary, trending topics, celebrity guests, and interesting people. And we have no shortness of that today. So thank you for tuning in. Peanut Gallery, good to see you. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 p.m. to 7 East Coast time. No individual shout outs unless you bring somebody. And as always, you can support the show and help us grow right here at our support center by way of Cash App. Let's Go Live Show. Let's Go Live Show. Find it on Cash App. $1 loose, $5, $10, $20. Help keep the lights on and the phones working. All right, speaking of phones at any given time, 765 Let's Go 1. That's the number. Worldwide, 765 Let's Go 1. That is the number. All right, as promised, ladies and gentlemen, not gonna belabor the issue. We gonna get to a lot of the fun and silly stuff a little bit later, but right now I want to kick off the show with something serious that I, as promised, from Monday. We talked about it very briefly, and actually we talked about it last week. During the anniversary time, and I hate to use that when they say anniversary. The anniversary is someone's death. We talked about it around February 22nd. February 22nd, if you know anything about history, was the date that marked the assassination of Malcolm X. And on that date, his remaining family, I believe his daughters, released some info that they hope to reopen the case. Some info from a deathbed letter from a New York City NYPD officer who admitted on his deathbed that he had involvement. He was on assignment, in cahoots, at work with disrupting Malcolm's moves at the time, back in 1965, and even causing events which led to him being unsecured and available for assassination on that fateful day at the Autobahn Ballroom in Harlem. So with this letter, we talked about it yesterday. The article, I'll pull up the article just to refresh you real quick. Let's pull up the article very, very quickly. They're hoping, part of their hope is to open the case again. And also, by the time of the 50th anniversary or the 50-year commemoration of said event, they're looking for history to clear their father's name. which I think is a very significant endeavor, very ambitious. But of course, this happened on February 21st, 1965, Audubon Ballroom. And let me see, the officer Raymond Wood, he admitted that he was on a detail, and his task was to harass and arrest some members of Malcolm X's security in the days leading up to the speech on that day, so that he would be unprotected. So many people are coming out speaking on both sides. I've seen a lot of video clips online, current and former members of Nation of Islam, basically, saying that we knew this all along. And this is what a lot of historians have been trying to tell you, that it was one, the facts are there. It was an inside job, if you will, for lack of a better term. But two, government involvement was apparent. And now, allegedly, according to this letter, it's fact-based. So I told y'all last week what I wanted to do is I wanted to get somebody who could have more of a inside perspective, more closer to the issue, if you will. So today, without further ado, this brother, someone reached out to me also on email, of course, social media or whatever, and directed me to this brother who is, let me give you a little bit of his bio, let you know he's official. Brother Demetric Muhammad will be joining us very shortly on the show today. He's Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan research team member. He's an author, publisher, researcher, lecturer, and student minister. His website is researchminister.com. Now, I could read it all. There's a lot there, but I'm going to let the brother jump on and let you know what time he's on himself. All right, so without further ado, please welcome to the show, Brother Demetric Muhammad. Good day to you, sir.
Brother Lamont, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. What about now? How about now? You hear anything coming through? All right, I'm going to refresh. I'm going to refresh my...
Brother Lamont, I can't. I don't have audio.
How about now? How about now? Now, anything? You check your monitor. What device are you on? Can you see me? Check your
I can't hear.
Okay, check your let's see here. All right, stand by. Let's see if we can get this to work out. Check your, I'm gonna go into the chat because we got this new feature right here where they let you chat to the people on the show. Hold on a second. Check your device is what I'm gonna say. The device. Let's try it again. All right, how about now? Can you hear me? Anything? All right, I'm gonna let them get that situated. Y'all can hear me though, right? Picture's good. We crisp. It's official. Yeah, I'm trying to tell them turn the speakers on. Check your device. Turn your speakers up. You turn your Bluetooth off. Put your headphones in. How about now? Anything? All right, I'm gonna let him. Y'all can hear me, right? And you can hear him. And we can hear us both. Exactly, Haynes. You get the vibes. Let's try to. Oh, he said can't hear. All right, check your device. All right, so you hit me back. Are you on Bluetooth? Bluetooth. Do you have headphones? It's a live show, y'all. Don't trip. Headphones. Joys of technology. Hey, man, I done seen worse on Don Lemon and Mario Cuomo. So I ain't trying to hear. Chris Cuomo. Are you on Bluetooth? Do you have headphones? Can you hear me? Oh, yes. He says yes. So let's try it again. So nothing's coming through. All right, you're gonna find another device. All right. Anyway, all right. So while he's doing that, I think this is gonna be a very interesting conversation. I'm anticipating it, so hopefully he can get that work. But shout out to Mr. Clarkson. Let's do this. Let's talk about this for a minute. We're gonna come back. I wanted to save this for the end of the show, but Mr. Clarkson, whose birthday is today, appreciate you for all you do. Home team, award-winning orator and educator, celebrating his birthday today. Mr. G called through the show a little bit later if you're not already sloshed. And our New York bureau chief, what's good with you, John Watson? All fun and games. All right, let's see. Yeah, just have him call instead. All right, then I'm gonna see that. All right, if you want to just call, use the number in the email. In the email. They don't want us to have this conversation. They don't want it. All right, here we go. Truth Seeker, good call on that. Because I sent both, but he said he wanted to do video. So there's that. Yeah, see, I put on a collared shirt. It's not a game. You know what I'm saying? Image is everything. Thirst is nothing. So hopefully, let's see. Let's see if he went over to the phone. All right. Meanwhile, all right, let's do this real quick. I thought this was funny. This made my day. I wanted to talk about this a little bit later too, but you always got to have stories on standby. I don't know if y'all saw the pastor Fitzpatrick. Now I got to join his church. Now I was looking for a church home, and I found it, and I seen this clip online. I was in search years and years, man. I haven't gone into the church sanctuary, or as Daniel Kaluuya playing Fred Hampton would say, the sanctuary. I haven't found a good until I saw this one. And I got to tell y'all, man, I'm so happy that I found a new church, a new church home. Pastor John Kilpatrick, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you. Telling that truth.
Say something right quick.
All right.
I think back on the African American people in America. I think how they were taken against their wills, put in the belly of ships, brought over here, beat, cussed. Many of them died in the guts of those ships, thrown overboard. They were pulled from families over there. You ain't never heard a gut-wrenching song. You hear a black person sing one of those old black Negro spirituals.
Amen.
Nobody knows.
Sing,
I can't
Pastor.
sing it like that, see, because I hadn't experienced what they be. When you've experienced hell, it comes out of the voice.
Go ahead.
I said, when you experience hell, it comes out of the voice. If you're one of those people that you got problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. You better shut your white mouth.
You better shut your white mouth. You better shut your white mouth.
Shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you.
I'm not kidding.
I know some of you was raised in the deep South and you was raised by prejudiced people and bigoted people. You better get that out of your system. You better get it out of your system. It'll cause you to suffer right along with those masters. It'll cause you to suffer right along with them. These are God's people. And I know that there's wicked in white races and wicked in black races and all that. I'm not justifying none of that stuff.
Amen.
I'm just saying God knows what happened to the black race. He knows how they wound up over here.
He do.
And God is going to reimburse the black people for all their trouble and all their labor. You watch what I tell you.
Is he?
Watch what I tell you. Listen. Let me say something right quick.
Hey, John. Already done. So, yeah. No, that's so. This is the reason why that struck a chord to me. And it's so tickling, if you will, as the old heads would say. That tickled me. And I found a new church home. I don't even know where it is, but if he's online every weekend, I'm there. But this is what I be talking about, right? We can fight, complain, teach, educate all day long till the cows come home, right? I'm so against begging people for permission to my humanity. It makes my skin crawl. Right? It's not yours to give. My humanity is not for you to give to me, right? Respect and all of that. But in this fight, we talk about allies, and we often talk about co-conspirators, even, you know, the word, whatever word buzzword is being used at whatever time. But this, nothing is going to happen until you hear it this way from them. We can have speeches out the wazoo. I can bring you to class and school you from here to Sunday. You could see the videos online of the people telling the white people, and the white people crying, I didn't know it was this bad. You went through it. Nothing. None of that matters. None of that's going to happen until they put the hammer down and talk that real talk to each other. This is what I be talking about. When I say on the show, I said nothing's going to change until they start talking that talk to each other. And so we talk about it on Karen Hunter's show too. And it's all, we always, what do you think, Lamont? What do you think? What's it, white people call up, what do you think is the cure of racism? First of all, it's not my problem to fix. It's not my problem to fix. It's your I need you to read. And I need you to hold yourself accountable. I need y'all to hold each other accountable. Like lady called, she was real genuine too. It was about a year ago. She called us. I have friends who sometimes they make comments and I'm uncomfortable. And what would you have me do in that situation? And I said on the air, I was like, check them. I was like, tell them call up here. We'll check them together. We'll give them a book list and say, you know what? I'm not going for none of that. I don't want to hear that. Like with this right here, you better shut your white mouth. You better shut your white mouth. That's what it takes. It takes that. It's not divisive. It's not incendiary. It's not offensive. He said, hey, listen, man, you want to hear the truth? Listen, shut your mouth. Because that's not, that's not of God. It's basically what he was saying. So this is my new church home. My new pastor. Don't say nothing about my pastor's haircut. I don't want to hear it. As soon as I join, I'm going to join the barber ministry, and I'm going to train some members of the congregation so we can get that taper fixed in the back. But hey, my new church home. All right, there's that. All right, let's see. I see we got the brother back. Let's see if we bring him in real quick, see if we can hear. Can you hear me, brother Muhammad?
Brother Lamont, I can hear you loud and clear.
Here we go. We back at it. All right, let me put your name on the screen and everything now that we're official. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. This is major. This is very major.
It's my honor, brother. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, let's get a little bit of background on you. Tell us where you're from. I see the first thing that jumped out in your bio was that you joined the Nation of Islam at 15.
Yes, sir.
What's behind that? What was that about?
Well, Brother Lamont, I don't know how old you are, but we look like we might be in the same generation. And if you remember hip hop during the 80s and 90s, you remember it was actually mainstream hip hop that carried a Black consciousness message. Nowadays, you have so-called conscious artists, but they're somewhat marginalized and on the periphery of mainstream hip hop. But during those days, some of my favorite hip hop artists were echoing the message of people like Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, even Dr. King. And so when my father began to study the Nation of Islam, he brought me along with him. And it wasn't a big stretch for me because, again, at that time, many of the hip hop artists of that era were basically like de jure recruiters for the Nation of Islam and the Black consciousness movement.
And that's true, and that's a valid point. But it was also a lot of 5%ers and split offs. Exactly. So what kept you grounded with the nation and not Hebrew Israelites and that sort of thing?
Well, I think that I'm coming to you from the deep South.
Okay.
And so I grew up in the Mississippi Delta, and even though I could see a lot of the other iterations of Black consciousness from afar on television and in movies, etc., in the Deep South, the nation had an actual physical presence, and so that was kind of like an easy way for me to connect with Minister Farrakhan's rebuilding efforts.
And what type of I see also that you moved up in the ranks early on. became very engaged and involved. Talk about some of the roles that you've held in the nation since joining.
Well, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said back in the 60s, Brother Lamont, that any of his followers who come and learn his teaching can become ministers. And growing up and accepting Islam and the Bible Belt, I learned early on that I really had to know what I was getting myself into, because a lot of family members and loved ones, etc., were concerned because a young person getting involved in a movement that did not really have a lot of notoriety, again, in the Bible Belt, and of course, this thing about, do y'all believe in Jesus, etc. So early on, I began to not just be kind of like a blind follower, if you will, but I was really intrigued with the message, with the spiritual and the religious teachings of the Nation of Islam. And so as a result of that, I worked as a campus coordinator on my college. I was one of the brothers that was out and about in the different parts of the country recruiting for the Million Man March, and just doing my duties as a member of the Fruit of Islam class, selling the Final Call newspaper, and became a what we call a student minister, or student in ministry class. And so I've worked in a variety of capacities, all of them are related in some way, shape, or form to communicating our message to the larger public. And now, of course, I serve as a member of Minister Farrakhan's research team.
Okay. You mentioned Million Man March, and from my own perspective, I was raised on Eyes on the Prize. I was raised on audio of Malcolm X and VHS tapes and cassette tapes and all of that. The Million Man March, and some people that went with me are in this chat watching, as a matter of fact. That, to me, and we probably are of the same era, that was one of the most pivotal events that I've ever experienced, even to this day. And I'm not in the nation, I'm not a practicing Muslim, but it was so important and relevant and needed then and now. So much so that it's been vilified from before then to now, even when they had the anniversary. But I say that to say, back then, all the information that I knew of was about Malcolm X. Very little in the late 80s, 90s. Farrakhan was so demonized and made to be such an evil person that you really didn't get a lot of information. At least I didn't get a lot of information. When you, around that time, and when you joined, was the nation focused on the imagery and message of Malcolm X, or was it more Farrakhan as an insider?
Well, at that time, when I joined in 1990, that was kind of during a period of time where Minister Farrakhan was really gaining a lot of momentum in his work of rebuilding the nation. So from a chronological perspective, for a moment, the minister begins the rebuilding in 1977. And so for maybe 7 years, he's not really doing any media. He's not doing any press. He's not doing anything in the public. He would later go on to say that he was trying to use the principles of the natural world, wherein when you plant a seed, long before you see something pop up out of the ground, it sends down deep roots. And so the minister was going all over the country, speaking to smaller groups, setting up study groups. And in the early 80s, he kind of burst onto the scene as someone who was going to help Reverend Jesse Jackson run for president. And you mentioned the demonization of Minister Farrakhan. This is where that began, because at that time there were groups, Reverend Jesse Jackson, along with Andrew Young, they had expressed support for Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. And many in the American Jewish community began to criticize and condemn them. Well, it got so bad that one particular group led by Fern Rosenblatt called Jews Against Jackson was formed. And they actually firebombed Reverend Jesse Jackson's campaign headquarters in several cities. Well, by this time, Operation Push, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Minister Farrakhan and the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam, we had become allies. And this is during a period of time when presidential candidates did not receive Secret Service protection. So Minister Farrakhan assigned the Brothers of the Fruit of Islam to be personal protectors of Reverend Jesse Jackson and his family. And then the minister would go in and kind of as a surrogate speaker, if you will, he was speaking on behalf of Reverend Jackson. And at a certain point, he defended Reverend Jackson against the Jewish onslaught. And he basically said, you know, leave Reverend Jackson alone. He said, we're not as a people going to stand by and allow you to attack our brother. If you want to defeat him at the ballot box, but leave him alone. And so right after that, the minister becomes demonized, but he continues to grow in love and admiration among grassroots type folk. And everywhere he would go, he would fill stadiums, arenas. And it got so, brother, that in 1992, Minister Farrakhan held a major address in Atlanta, Georgia. And the World Series was being played at the same time in another arena across town. The minister was in the Georgia Dome. And the minister had more people to come and see him at the Georgia Dome than they did at the World Series in 1992. And so this is kind of the period of time where there is a reintroduction of the history of Minister Malcolm X into the public, primarily targeting Black youth who, again, were really rocking with Minister Farrakhan as a result of the hip hop connection. Right. And as a result of many of their parents actually becoming interested in Minister Farrakhan's message. Because during those days, he was on Donahue, he was on Nightline with Ted Koppel, all of the major news shows. Yeah. And so it was kind of during this time, and this is important because when Brother Malcolm was assassinated, right, he's basically being condemned by mainstream periodicals all over America, the New York Times, LA Times. He was excoriated. I mean, they were saying he was a young man that had a lot of talent, but he wasted it pursuing a course of hatred, etc. So now 30 years later, it's very suspicious that he's being reintroduced in more of a sanitized version. He's put on a postage stamp. And it was at that time that this peculiar narrative that in 30 years since his assassination, no one had ever heard of, where the name Louis Farrakhan is being associated with his assassination. So you have the net effect is that many in the Black youth demographic fall in love with Malcolm, and then they're told that Minister Farrakhan killed Malcolm. And so then some ambivalence develops among Black youth toward Minister Farrakhan. And we have documented in a lot of our research that this was actually by design.
And so I'm glad you brought that full circle. This is, as an insider, that's what we miss when we have this conversation, and as a researcher, that's what we miss. Because I feel like over the years there's been two sides. You listen to one, you vilify the other, depending on who you are and what stage you are in your level of learning. You mentioned, that period of time in the 90s where Minister Farrakhan was on Donahue. When I'm having a bad day, I'll tell you this for real. I watched those episodes of him on Donahue, and then the one with him and Mike Wallace in particular on 60 Minutes. Oh, Mr. Wallace, you should be quiet. You should be quiet. Yeah, and it just classic. It brightens my day. But so now we're in the 90s. Spike Lee comes out with Malcolm X. That really frames a general mainstream understanding for Malcolm for those people who've not read the book, who aren't familiar, or too lazy to do their own research. One of the biggest mysteries to this day is how he did not include any, by way of cameo, by way of mention, subtle, implied, he didn't include Minister Farrakhan. Why do you think that is or was?
Well, Brother Lamont, I last year we published a book, But Didn't Y'all Kill Malcolm? Myth Busting the Assassination of Malcolm X. And in our book, we document from Spike Lee's own admission. He was interviewed by Professor Henry Louis Gates. And in that interview, he talks about a lot of the challenges that he faced. Of course, many people knew of the financial challenges that he had. Warner Brothers gave him $18 million. that was not enough. So he ultimately went to people like Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Cosby, to get them to put in money to help him make this monumental, big budget, big tentpole project, Malcolm X. And so what he said in his interview with Professor Henry Louis Gates was, number one, was that he knew that Warner Brothers wanted to present, and they were interested in presenting a version of Malcolm after he came from Mecca, where he, quote, stopped calling white people the blue-eyed devil. And then he also said that people should understand that he was not out to make a documentary, but to make a drama. And so he admits to having to truncate the actual full narrative, and actually some characters he had to invent who really became an amalgam of real life folk. Consider, for instance, Brother Baines, who we see in the famous prison scenes. And a few years ago, I was blessed to literally go and speak in those actual prisons in part of Massachusetts Department of Corrections, and get a chance to see the actual scenery where Brother Malcolm was and get a feel for that. But of course, in reality, and you read about this in Malcolm's autobiography, Malcolm had blood brothers and sisters who had preceded him as becoming registered members in the Nation of Islam. And his brother Reginald particularly was writing him and entreating him to consider the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so Reginald is not in the movie. You have Baines, who's this fictional character. There was a prison inmate, a brother named Bembry, that Malcolm admired. He used to read all of the books in the library, etc. So Spike talked about the challenge of taking information that really we would expect in a documentary and using creative license to put forth a drama. The bad thing about it is, Brother Lamont, from the perspective of someone who does historical research, as well as someone who works with Black youth on a daily basis, is the fact that because many youth aren't reading the history, the movies become their idea of how things actually happen. So for many among our babies, man, they thinking that what was in a movie, that's what actually happened. Right. Similar to what you have now in Godfather Harlem, which is a complete corruption and distortion of Black history. You have this a revisionist historian kind of mentality that to me is very dangerous, because the net effect is that many of the youth will see the great heroes and heroines of the past with a jaundiced eye, and they won't see that they are born to take the baton from the great elders of the past and run their leg of the race, moving our people closer toward ultimate liberation.
Yeah, and I like Godfather Harlem. I enjoy it, and and I know they stretch. We interviewed.
But you know the history.
Yeah,
I love Spike Lee's movie Malcolm X, but I know the history.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm not trying to get my history lesson from the same place I get my entertainment.
Right.
You and I are mature enough to be able to separate it, but a lot of the babies aren't.
Right. And to that point, moving on in the timeline, one thing that another thing that Spike didn't do in the movie was, well, what he did do very carefully, he implied that the shooters were from the nation, which I think was very skillful, but it left so much wiggle room where, like you said, people take their history lesson from that and say, oh, it was an inside job. He was killed by the nation, right? And so then that narrative moves on for the next 20, 25 years. So fast forward to 10, 12 years after that, Minister Farrakhan sits down with Atala Shabazz, and he essentially apologizes for what he considered creating an atmosphere that led to the death of Malcolm. If you say that narrative didn't exist until the 90s, 30 years later, then why 10 years after that would he feel the need to apologize to Malcolm's daughter?
Because, as you pointed out, insider perspective, right? So most of what people have bought into about the Nation of Islam has been fed to them from sources that are hostile to the Nation of Islam.
True.
But if you have been anywhere in the nation or around the nation, have family members in the nation, then you develop an appreciation that even though we are called a nation, in many ways we are like a large family. And the family dynamic is important to consider because Minister Farrakhan saw Attila Shabazz being born. You know, he and Brother Malcolm were like brothers. You know, I do a lot of work with incarcerated populations, and I'm always fascinated, Brother Lamont, that, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, where there was still segregation, many brothers and sisters who came out of prison, you know, nowadays they got all these reentry programs, right?
Yep.
But back then, especially in the nation and even in some Christian groups, if you were an inmate and you were demonstrating that you were cleaning your life up, when you got out, you could literally come and live with a Black family that was a member of your congregation. So many of the brothers and sisters who left prison, they had joined the Nation of Islam in prison. They came and they actually were able to live in the homes of some of the believers. So we were very, very close, is the point I'm making. And when there was a fracture in our familiar relationship, which it was, because of the FBI and the NYPD and even the ADL, they were performing espionage activities, listening to our phone conversations, following us. And every family has, you know, fault lines of relationship. Now, if you're listening, you know, I don't know if you married, Brother Lamont, but if I listen to all of you and your wife's private conversations, I would know where the fault lines are. And if I want to break y'all apart, I could just apply pressure to those fault lines. If I learn that, hey, it's something that, you know, your wife hates for you to do, well, I just do it and make her believe you did it.
Yeah.
And so instead of helping y'all stay together, which a righteous motive would be, you know, I'm breaking you all apart. And the government understood that there were internal dynamics that are organic to any relationship. And so they broke apart a family. I emphasize this. This wasn't some political party. This wasn't some secular organization. This was a spiritual community and a family. So the minister has always had care and compassion for Brother Malcolm's family, even though many of them have felt that the nation abandoned them or may have felt that the nation is responsible for their father's death. That does not take away, Brother Lamont, that original love and care and concern when you reminisce and think, girl, I remember when you was born and I knew the car that they brought you home from the hospital in. So the minister has care. One thing a lot of people don't remember, Brother Lamont, is that in 1995, the FBI approached Minister Farrakhan and they said, Minister Farrakhan, we have learned that Malcolm X's daughter, Kubila Shabazz, is involved in a plot to assassinate you. Don't worry, we've arrested her. We got it under control. The minister had the most unusual reaction, the most supernatural reaction. He didn't believe the FBI's version of events. He says, I don't believe Brother Malcolm's daughter is really out to assassinate me. So he reached out through Brother Hakeem Matabuti to Betty Shabazz, and he said, Brother Hakeem, do you think that we could have an event where we could raise some money for her defense? Now, again, hold the phones, stop the presses. This is the object of the target of an assassination, rising to defend someone that's been arrested for plotting his assassination. Long story short, there's a historic moment that's created that moves the nation and the family of Malcolm closer toward reconciliation. And the minister helped to raise $250,000 at that event where Betty Shabazz spoke, the minister spoke. And so the minister has always just been trying to reach out, you know, to do whatever we could to close the gap that the government helped to create.
Now, I appreciate all of this context. Now, if you, up until this point, I'm on a timeline. So I'm at the last point of the timeline. Then we're going to get to last week's headline and the reason why you're here. So the last point on my timeline where I have questions, the documentary, Who Killed Malcolm X, which came out last year, where the documentary, the narrator, I forget his name escapes me right now. He all but identified with what apparently is evidence, factual, documented evidence and all of that, as members of the nation being the shooters of a particular mosque. This whole 50-year leading up to that revelation, what is the energy around that and your view on what he exposed in that documentary?
Well, first of all, let me say this. It's not a new revelation.
Okay.
He builds upon what was actually revealed in 1977 and then again in 1978 by the only admitted killer of Brother Malcolm, Talmadge Hayer. Mm-hmm. At that time, Talmadge Hayer, while he was serving prison, he wrote an affidavit for Attorney William Consular and Imam Nuruddin Faisal, I believe was his name. And in these affidavits, he named all of the co-conspirators who conspired with him to assassinate Brother Malcolm. Again, he says that he was not under any orders or any instructions from the leadership of the Nation of Islam. He even attests to this as late as just a few years ago when he's being released from prison and being given his conditions for parole. They asked him again, which if you're getting ready to be released, there's kind of a motivation for you to say what folk want you to say. But Talmadge Hayer, even when having his question put to him upon his release from prison, he said, no, we did this on our own. We were not under any command or instructions from the Nation of Islam. And that's consistent what he said throughout. Even when he was in the trial, he exonerated the two known members of the Nation of Islam, Brother Norman 3X Butler, who's now called Muhammad Abdul Aziz, and Brother Thomas 15X Johnson, known as Khalil Islam. He's passed away. Talmadge Hayer has always exonerated them, and he has been consistent. So what we saw, again, in the Netflix documentary, it may have been eye-opening for many, but for Malcolm X assassination researchers, that information has been known for a long time. The reason, though, Brother Lamont, that it was not known to the general public is because, extraordinarily, when Talmadge Hayer made known the names of those who worked with him, no law enforcement agency would follow up on the names that he gave them, which lets us to know that these were persons who are not necessarily in the nation to be in the nation, but that they had some kind of relationship with law enforcement agencies who were behind the scenes as puppet masters orchestrating the assassination of Malcolm X and the blaming of that assassination on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. So that information, which I have documented in my book, that came out in 1977, but the authorities would never go and arrest them. But also, because in the hood, we know if they arrest you, Brother Lamont, they're not just satisfied with arresting you. They want to know who else was in it with you. Give us their name. They want you to flip.
Yeah,
that's how that goes.
Yeah.
But when he finally gave the names, the same names that you saw in the Netflix documentary in 1977, the authorities never would follow up and pursue.
And to that point, a couple of the names, I think those two in particular, were redacted, and so they really weren't included in the documentary because they had the silhouette with the question mark, and it kind of left me hanging at the end of it because I was like, I feel like you could have dug a little deeper and let us know who that was. But to that point, the story from last week. Now we're here. We got backstory. We got context. Last week it comes out that Malcolm's daughters got a deathbed letter from an NYPD guy who's, you know, on his deathbed. I didn't know they still did that. On his deathbed, he wrote the letter. It was like, this is what happened. This is where we was at. This all who was over there. And it was shameful and I regret it. But it's the truth. And now I'm dead. And so they want the case opened up. And what does that mean for the nation? Is that because I follow a lot of young cats online, Reza Islam, Brother Ben. I've seen you know, a lot of people speaking on it like this is vindication in a sense. What does that mean for the nation?
Well, it is a confirmation of research that has been done for many years. Again, this is a case where, you know, something happens in the public, but people that have been involved with this have been familiar with it for a long time. My book came out last year, and I talk about Raymond Wood and NYPD Bossy, Bureau of Special Services investigation. They have been the most closely held files. NYPD Bossy, they haven't released any of their files from that time period where they were actively involved in destroying the movement among Black people for justice and liberation. The FBI have released just a little bit, and the little bit that they have released is so damning and condemning of them that we really need to know more. And the minister has been instrumental in calling that all of the files of these organizations be opened and be made known to us so that the Black community's great wound that Brother Malcolm's assassination produced can be healed. So yes, it is a vindication of us because it shows, and one of the most powerful statements in that letter, Brother Lamont, was when Raymond Wood testified, or he attests to, pardon me, that he was an NYPD officer and it was his job. He was paid to encourage members of Black organizations to commit felonious acts. That is extraordinary. Police officers are not supposed to encourage you to commit crimes just so they can arrest you after you commit the crime. They're not supposed to intimidate you to become a felon. Yet Raymond Wood said that was his job. And if you get his book that's available on Amazon, he talks about even when he had his own personal misgivings about it, he was being pressured and forced by those who were his handlers to do these things. So this is extraordinary because it not only has bearing on vindicating the nation and the assassination of Malcolm X, but think now how the great problem we all know, many activists now are involved in helping felons, you know, get their voting rights back, helping felons re-enter society. We now need a commission to examine all of these felony convictions in the Black community so that we can separate where the government's role was and where the individual's acts were. This is huge.
So we saw the King family. Well, a lot of people still don't know this. They sued the government and won.
Yes.
Where the government said, yes, there's evidence we were culpable in the assassination, not James Earl Ray.
Right.
And they won an undisclosed amount of money. Do you think that type of action, we'll see that type of action if this were to go that route?
You know, I would hope so. But I think that, see, what I'm interested in, Brother Lamont, as a student of Minister Farrakhan, is helping us as a people to lift up our heads and no longer look at one another as enemies. But now we're seeing the previously hidden hand of our government. We ought to be able to come together across religious lines, across organizational affiliations, across geographic divides. We ought to be able to unite and demand that our elected officials pursue opening up the files and holding the government accountable for what it did to otherwise sincere Black brothers and sisters whose only crime really was that they wanted justice and liberation for their people. So they joined an organization. Maybe they joined the Panthers. Maybe they joined the Nation of Islam. Maybe they joined the Revolutionary Action Movement. Maybe they joined SCLC and the Civil Rights Movement. They had no idea that the most powerful law enforcement agencies on earth, agencies that are instrumental in regime changes in foreign lands, would turn their military might, their espionage expertise on little old you and me, who just trying to stop being brutalized when we get pulled over by police officers, who want to be able to go and sit down at a lunch counter and have a meal. And we were viewed as subversives in America. We were viewed as potential allies of the Communist Party in America. And so our leaders were targeted and our movements were targeted for destruction. There has to be some accountability for this, Brother Lamont.
Indeed. Indeed. I know y'all just came off and we're coming to the end of this. I know y'all just came off of Savior's Day.
Yes, sir.
Every year there's messaging. What would you like to leave us with? What is this year's message for the coming 2021?
The theme of Savior's Day this year, Brother Lamont, was how strong is the foundation? Can we survive? If we look at that theme in terms of the struggle of our people in America, we see that we have a very strong foundation. We are great people. But the question is, are we connected to our source? Are we connected to our foundation? I'm concerned that even though we have a strong foundation, I see many of our young people who are disconnected from that foundation. Even many of those who are activists, they are not necessarily tethered to the great ones of the past. And the Bible says, old men for counsel, young men and women for war. So the elders and the youth, we have to close that gap. And if we don't, then we will continue like a hamster on a hamster wheel. We'll have a lot of activism. We'll have a lot of motion, but we may not be going in the direction that we need to. I remember a colleague of mine, he was telling me, and this is just an example of the challenge. He was talking to a group of young brothers in a juvenile detention center, and he showed them a picture of Frederick Douglass, and he asked them, did they know who Frederick Douglass was? Because Frederick Douglass is a part of that firm foundation that I'm talking about. And he said, one of the young men replied, yeah, that's Fred Sanford. So these are those who are going to make up our future, Brother Lamont. There's a lot of work that has to be done if we're going to survive to connect our youth with the foundation of the struggle, the foundation of our greatness.
Absolutely. Let's end on that. Hey, I greatly appreciate you carving out some time in your day to come chop it up with us, and the door is wide open for you in the future, man. If you want to go live with us and just drop some jewels, we'd be more than happy. Where can they meet you or find you online? I'll put it in the chat. Website, social media.
Definitely. The book,
okay.
is available on researchminister.com, 352 pages, over 400 footnotes. We encourage those to check us out. We're in Instagram at Brother Demetric, Twitter at Brother Demetric, and Facebook as well. We would love to connect with your audience. And brother, I really appreciate your kindness and your hospitality in hosting us. And may Allah God continue to bless you and your family. We look forward to coming back at some point.
Let me see the name. Hold the book up real quick again. That's what is it? What's the title?
But didn't you kill Malcolm?
Didn't you kill like that?
The assassination? Myth busting the propaganda against the Nation of Islam. All
right, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Brother Demetric Muhammad, all the way from Memphis. You in Memphis now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How's the weather down there?
Well, about a week ago, Brother Lamont, we had about 10 inches of snow, which is
that's what I'm saying.
Everything shut down, But now today we have 70 degrees. The sun is out, so the weather's beautiful.
Absolutely. All right.
Where are you based at, my brother?
Say it again.
Where are you based at?
Oh, in Maryland. We in Maryland.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
on the East Coast. All right, there it is. All right, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. More round of applause for that. That's info. That's food. That's food right there. This is what you get on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Food. You never know what's going to happen. You never know. Perspective, knowledge, entertainment, a few laughs here and there, and then jewels out of nowhere. Jewels out of nowhere. All right. Got all my questions answered. You know, we had to run through context because that story is so big, but there's so many layers to it and it has so much history to it. You know, you just get one angle and you might lose, you know, other important angles on the timeline. So I had to make sure I got my questions out first before we got to the meat of last week's story. So I wanted to make sure we did that, because we can talk all we want, but we ain't in the nation. We don't know what the vibe is. You know, we can pontificate and you know, talk till we blue in the face, but we don't know what it's like on the ground and what that atmosphere is like, and you know. So there's that. All right. Hey, Mr. Clarkson, where you at? Let me see if you're still around. We got a few more minutes. Let me see. You have been active for 60 minutes. Okay. Make sure my phones is right. All right, let's go to the phones real quick. Hey, can you turn your device down? Caller, can you turn your device down?
It is. Hello?
Yeah, welcome to the program.
Hey, this is a cutie pie.
Wait, hold up. I'm disconnected. I'm disconnected. You disconnected. Hold on. The thing goes after 60 minutes. It go. All right, say something.
I said I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Clarkson. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Happy birthday to the best executive producer, Mr. Clarkson.
Indeed. And the best Lincoln Ford Theater Oratory Fellow and the best middle school educator.
Yes, all that. I want to be just like him when I grow up.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your call. And you
right.
Yes, you better shut your white mouth. You better shut your. I'm not kidding you. Let's see. Hey, let's see if he's still around. Hey, Mr. Clarkson, go ahead, jump on, man. The phone. You can do the phone, or you can do the. We're gonna say, you know, happy birthday to you properly. Properly. Oh, all right. Well, we'll wait for. Oh, there you go. I was reading the chat. I was like, Haynes, what you talking about? I fell for the smooth talk. Man, we was in there getting knowledge from the brother Haynes. You know what I'm saying? Can't be silly all the goddamn time. All right, let's bring in Mr. Clarkson. Happy birthday!
Hey, appreciate it. I'm not tipsy yet, man, but it's about to go down.
It could happen. You know what I'm saying?
It could happen, man.
At a moment's notice, man.
When I do get tipsy, man, I need y'all to shut y'all white mouths.
You shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding you.
I'm not kidding. Good.
Shut your white mouth.
Bro, if I can make that my ringtone, I think I would.
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's all I got it on all devices. I'm about to get it on all devices. You better
man. Good.
Like you shut your white mouth. You know what I'm saying? So
that was a great interview.
Oh, thank you, man. He did the heavy lifting. I ain't really have to do much, man. That's perspective. That's what I needed. Right. You got to hear it from, you know, the inside. And when they emailed, they had me a researcher and historian for Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was like, oh, yes. I was like, yes, that's what you do. That's your role is researcher and historian for Minister Farrakhan. Yeah, please come on the show.
Yeah, because that's a tough job.
Yeah.
And it also means that you're going to run into things that you got to be honest about one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely respected him. And also, he stayed grounded. He stayed.
Yeah. And I appreciate his candor, too. You know what I mean? We kept it G.
Yeah,
he didn't really fluff and be like, that didn't. What do you mean? That is not a kinder, gentler Nation of Islam. Yeah, he kept it real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bravo for him addressing the tissue issue between Spike Lee, Malcolm X, and everything else. That's all. That was the first time I've ever watched a movie and saw my father cry. That's when I knew the power of that movie. And he actually took off work to meet me and my school to go see it. And he didn't even say bye to me. That's how I knew it affected him. Crucial. You've been around me and my father tons of times. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking. That's one of them times my dad was like, yeah, I'm good on this talking thing with you, fam. I need to go and really gather myself before you come home and everything else. So it was a good conversation. It's a solid movie. You can teach it. You can teach through it, but you have to stop at certain things to do some historical corrections. But I would say between Selma, Malcolm X, solid cinematic movies you teach through, horrible cinematic movies you don't teach through. Red Tails is trash. Harriet is trash. To a certain extent, the Nat Turner movie's a bit trash as well too. Sad.
Really, Birth of a Nation?
Yeah, it's a bit. There are two versions. If I can find the original version, I'll give you a copy of it, and you'll see that was the version they should have went with. But that's the version that won't get approved.
Oh, well, everybody died. All the white people died.
Oh yeah, because it's bigger than him it's bigger than him just going to this pack of one thing. What I didn't like is that they went Diet Carnage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One shot, one kill.
Yeah, it was. And they B-rolled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they B-rolled it when it was
montage. Quiche. Yeah.
This movie's about a massacre. Let's see the massacre.
Right. The story. I mean, the story is about yes. The massacre on Harper's Ferry.
Yeah, because my counter argument is this: whenever there's a horror movie, Friday the 13th, Jason, anything else, we see tons of people get off.
Yeah,
and they white.
Yeah, they're killing. Let's have it. Yeah. So that's an interesting point, though. Back to the point you made, you said you can teach through that movie because he was saying how how detrimental that can be when you teach historical context through these theatrical movies. But you were saying as an educator in class you can. Why? Is it because of the short attention span? Is it because of why can you? How are you able to?
Yes, because it's a great intro.
Okay.
It's a great intro. For me, the real way to do it is by reading the Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Right.
Which I love telling that story because it's the book that almost didn't get written. And Alex Haley's out, Alex Haley's with Malcolm tons of time. He can't get him to say anything. He's going to leave one day and he's like, hey man, you never talk about your mother. And Malcolm X talked straight for 4 days. Mm-hmm. It's that one question that led to the writing of that book. Mm. It's one of the great stories from Alex Haley wrote that. So fun times.
All right, so what's on tap for on the birthday other than the little what's your little beverage maker 3000? What is that?
Hey man, the Bartesian is going to be in full effect. Okay. So we can go Bartesian, and I'm run a drink, which is going to be good, and then of course doing some community service on Sunday, and then also my charity that I'm raising money for during this birthday season. Of course, it's Extraordinary Birthdays. We've had them on the show before, who provides, I have the benefit, you have the benefit of having a birthday party, people doing things for those that love you, but for those that are inside of between homes and of course in shelters for kids, having a birthday party is very difficult. So I'm going to be raising money for Extraordinary Birthdays, and that link is going to be on my Facebook page, and want people to join me for that.
Okay. Speaking of which, I'm supposed to do something real quick. I got to hold on. Stand by. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Stand by. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. This was not in our production meeting, so I'm lost. I'm actually going to our email right now. This was not in our production meeting, y'all. We off script. So we're about to see what happens. Like, I don't know if we're starting over. I feel like I'm being punked a little bit. I really feel like he did this on purpose. Okay, he didn't. He didn't. Okay. That's concerned.
All right, it's a live show. Don't trip.
It was funny because I thought it was gonna be the birthday prank. Where you just gonna leave me on the air?
That'd be hilarious. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna get somebody with that.
Yo, because I was just like, I was stuck because I was like, I really can't talk over the music. I was really stuck.
It's like a Roland Martin Jew or something. You know what I mean? No, our sponsor, Drunken Fruit. Hold up. Our sponsor, Drunken Fruit.
What type of Drunken Fruit?
Yeah, it told me for you to pick live if you want.
Nice.
Yeah, adult candy if you want the cherry vanilla, aged like 8 years.
Okay.
You want the delicious. This is orange.
Orange, okay. I like that. That might be the leader in the clubhouse thus far.
Yeah, 4 years.
Okay.
And then one of my favorites, watermelon, which is delicious.
That's right. Let me set the race back and get watermelon.
Yeah.
So you're
here's the thing: you get a pass if you eat it with like a cocktail fork. Then it doesn't refer to slavery. So
not with chicken though.
No, you can't eat it with chicken. Couscous, maybe. It's gluten free.
No, I can't do it. give me the watermelon.
Watermelon it is.
Watermelon it is.
All right. On deck. I'll bring that over right away, sir. Happy birthday, courtesy of Drunken Fruit. Everybody else, if you want menu pricing, they got some pairings. They got some bundles right now. Go to the website and send them an email, drunkenfruit.com. Drunken Fruit on spell it right though, because they got imposters out there. Drunken Fruit on social media. So let me put this up real quick, just really, really quick. Where is that? There you go. For menus and pricing, hit that. But yeah, happy birthday, courtesy of Drunken Fruit. That's on you.
Appreciate it. Good people at Drunken Fruit. Thanks so much for supporting. Let's go live. Hit the like button. Y'all know where it is on YouTube. And of course, hit the like button on Facebook and share this out. All right.
Share this video. It's not too late because when it show up on people's page, they can go back and watch the beginning and get that knowledge, get that info.
Brother James said it's only 8 points on Weight Watchers, so that's good to know too.
Oh well, yeah, okay. Sounds good. Didn't know that, but sounds good. Hey, who said that? James. Hey, James, you shut your white mouth. You know all right, there it is. I holla at you.
Appreciate it, bro.
All right, Roland Martin. Absolutely no time for you today, unfortunately, but we'll try to squeeze you in at some point. Everybody else, man, I appreciate y'all sticking in there, hanging in there with the difficulties at the beginning. It turned out to be a dynamite interview on behalf of brother Demetric Muhammad. Appreciate you for coming on the show. Y'all check that book out. Link is in the chat. Also the Money Wheel, y'all. Money Wheel is going. We got about I think it should be about $50 an hour. I'll verify that next time I see y'all. But $5 a slot. $5 a slot. Let's go live show to get on the Money Wheel for Friday. All monies need to be due in by the end of Thursday. So we give away money live on the show. Nobody else is doing it. Do it with us here. And I think that's it, man. We're way over time. I'll see y'all next time, man. See y'all Friday, actually. I will see you Friday. This is Lord willing, inshallah. I'll see you Friday.
I don't care if it is a closet. You still looking mad official.